Have you ever struggled with taking consistent action? Are you the person that you have a lot of things you want to do, but then the moment you decide to do them, you just don't commit. You just don't actually do them. You may have a lot of ideas where you're trying to figure out the idea, and then you have a great dream, a great idea, and you want to take action, but you just end up having a whole bunch of notes in your phone or a whole bunch of ideas you come up with, but you never complete them. In this video, I'm going to show you why you never take action and how you can make that switch. I remember when I was first starting in business and when I started getting my creative juices flowing, I have lots of ideas. And for a lot of people who are business owners, who are leaders, who are executives, doesn't matter. I know a lot of people like that are creatives like me, and you struggle with having all these ideas but not taking action. And it's very simple for the reason why you don't take action. And the number one reason why you don't take action is because you lack intent. And when you lack intent and you're not intentional and you don't have a focus for what you're trying to do, the action that you're trying to take is not going to happen. And most people who are dreamers are not action takers because it is way easier to dream. It is way easier to focus on the bright outcome, but when it's time to actually move forward, you feel like your feet are stuck. You feel like you don't know the exact action to take. And I'm going to show you why that happens and how to overcome that and fix that. Well, one of the biggest reasons why you're not intentional is because you are a terrible decision maker. But to be honest with you, most people don't make decisions. They just make choices. And the difference between a decision and a choice is that in a choice, you can easily decide to move on and do something else. When you make a decision, the word decide means to cut. It comes from the words to cut, which means you cut off all other options. You cut off any other option that's going to tell you that you're not going to do that thing. So when you're focused on not moving the goalposts, when you're focused on not taking that action, it's simply because you're not making a decision. You're not deciding and saying, I'm cutting off all other things. I'm going to focus on doing this one thing. So maybe you have a business idea and you're saying, why am I not taking action? Well, have you really decided to take that business and move to the next level? Maybe you're an executive or you're a manager and you have an idea for your company, or idea for your employees, but you're not taking action. Is it because you said, I'm going to make this decision? Or maybe you're a CEO and you see the new direction you want to take the company, or a direction that you want to go, but you're not taking the action because you haven't made a full decision and say, I'm intentional about doing this one thing. And I see this with a lot of people who overthink things. They're thinking about every single little thing, and they're procrastinating on taking the action because of one thing, and that's anxiety. Because you have this anxiety of what happens when it doesn't work. When you don't take action, it's simply saying, well, what happens if this doesn't work? What happens if I don't think the outcome that I want is going to manifest? Because if you thought that everything was going to happen the way you wanted to in your dream and the goals you have, you would take action. You would just do it. The same way where people dream of having the nice house, the nice car, they dream of having all the followers. They dream of having the beautiful husband or beautiful wife, whatever they may be dreaming about, but it doesn't happen because they're anxious and they start thinking about all the negative outcomes. They start putting a focus on the negative things that could possibly happen that aren't even real. And a lot of times people think it's fear, the fear of failure, the fear of success, but it's not fear, because fear is only a obstacle in a real and present danger. So if it's not a real and present danger, it's not really fear. But what most people do is they pre-play failure over and over and over again. And so they feel it. It goes down to her and it's feeling of anxiousness, feeling of worry. And then they don't take action because they rather have the fear of the anxiousness and worry. They rather that be an emotion and not take action and dream about it so they can have the endorphins in their brain can be filled up, instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to expect and anticipate something good happening, and I'm just going to go and do it. And if you struggle with that, the easiest thing you can do is say, I'm going to make a decision, and stop focusing on the promise and focus on the process. This is one thing I always used to teach my students. You have to focus on the process. What does that mean? I am not focused on the result that I can get because I cannot control results. I guess what? Newsflash. You cannot control the results you get. All you can do is control the process that you take and the actions that you take, and then anticipate the results happening the way they happen. It's like an example would be like Steph Curry. Steph Curry cannot control if he makes or misses a 3-point shot. But what he can control is the actions that he takes to prepare, and the way he prepares, his preparedness is equips him with the anticipation to say, more than likely, I'm going to make this shot. So if you prepare, if you take the actions that you need to take, if you and trust the process, and you say, okay, you know what, maybe your dream is to get more followers. Well, are you focused on the process of making the content, or are you focused more on the promise of getting the followers and the results from making the content? So you think in your head, well, what if nobody watches the video? Well, what if I don't get any new subscribers or new followers? Or what if people don't like the way I talk? What if I mess up and my video is not as good? Or maybe you're trying to start a business or grow your business, and you know this is a new product you should do, or a new marketing strategy you should put out, but you're saying, what if nobody buys it? What if people don't like this new product? What if people think I'm this or I'm that? So that anxiousness and worry pre-placed in your head over and over again, where you don't do anything. So you don't take the action, you don't do anything, you don't get the results. So now you even have a more negative feeling about the results, and then you play yourself in a cycle over and over and over again. And I call that the cycle of despair. My mentor taught me that a long time ago, where you can easily get in the cycle of despair. Why? Because people are pre-playing a negative future, but in reality what they're doing is just replaying the past over and over and over again, and they stay in the cycle because they get excited, and then the moment things start going wrong, the moment when things start going in disarray, they continue to just stop and do something else. They continue to stop and pivot. Whereas what they should do is say, I'm going to focus on the process. I don't care what happens right now, but I'm just going to do the actions over and over and over and over again until I get the results that I want. It's like when you're playing basketball, playing a sport, what you're doing in practice is your brain is doing the motions, doing the activities to become better and better. Where eventually what it starts doing, it starts processing the successes and eliminating the failures, where you become better and better at doing the task. That's how you become a better shooter. If you go to the gym and you shoot jump shots all day, every day, yes, you're going to miss some in practice, but what your brain's going to do is going to start formulating, seeing the angle of the shot. It's going to start figuring out, okay, I got to do this more, where then you become better and better and better. Same thing in business. If you are trying to become better at sales, the more sales calls you take, eventually you're going to get better and better and better. You're going to know exactly what to say, exactly how to say it, so that way the person that you're trying to sell wants to buy. Or maybe you're working on posting videos or creating a bigger following. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at becoming successful, but it requires you to take action. Faith without works is dead. What does that mean? That I can have the dream, I can have the faith, I can have the mental picture in my head of something going good, but if I don't take action, it is going to die. It's going to fall flat. I am going to get the opposite of the thing I'm dreaming for. I'm going to get the opposite of the thing that I'm looking for. So I have to say, I have to get to a point where I'm taking intentional action. I have to get to a point where I start pre-playing and anticipating good things happening. Why am I posting these videos? Because I'm anticipating that eventually I'm going to get really good at making videos, to the point where I have tens, hundreds of thousands of people watching my content. But I can only get there by focusing on the process and not the promise. This video may only get 1 view. This video may get 1,000 views. I don't care. I'm not focused on the result because I can't control the result. All I can control is what I do in the process of getting a result. And what happens is time, because I'm sowing every word, every seed, every piece, every money seed, every word seed, every action seed, I'm sowing into my future. So what happens is the principle of reaping and sowing is it takes time. So I'm going to reap right now, but I'm not going to sow it immediately. And what most people do why they don't take action is because when they take action and they don't see results, they quit. But your results are not going to happen the same time you're putting in the work. If I try to plant an apple tree, I'm not going to be expecting the apple tree to grow in the next 24 hours or the next 48 hours or the next week. I'm going to understand that it's going to take a few weeks. It may take a month or two for this tree to actually grow. And then once it grows, starts growing, I still have to wait for it to bear fruit. It doesn't just sprout one day and just become a whole bunch of apples on a tree. No, the limbs have to start growing. And then the apples start budding. And then they start growing. Then they become to the point where they're actually ripe enough for you to pick and actually have the harvest that you want. And that's the same thing that happens when you're taking action in your life. Yes, you're going to take action immediately. But guess what's going to happen? It's going to take some time for you to get better. It's going to take some time for not only the work to work for you, but it to work on you so you can become the person where the work works for. It's not just going to happen automatically. It's not just going to happen because you wish. It doesn't matter if you have $1,000 to your name or $1 million to your name. As a person who is a high achiever, you have to be okay with saying, I'm going to let the process work on me. And then eventually, I'm going to get the promise. Eventually, I'm going to get the results. If a woman is pregnant, she understands that it's going to be a 9-month span before she's going to be able to see the thing that she was a participant in creating. And once the closer, and guess what? The closer you get to seeing that thing, sometimes the harder and more challenging it is. Like pregnancy. The beginning stage is not as challenging as the end when you get into labor and they're having the contractions and they're about to have the baby. The same thing with the results of that you want. The results you want are going to come, but it's going to be a process. It's going to be a journey. And when you get closer to the goal, it's going to be the hardest point. Why? Because you can see it. You can feel it. You can touch it. You can grab it. But it's going to require more of you because it's going to say, okay, are you really willing to push through to get to the goal that you want? Are you really willing to push through to take the actions to get the intentional results that you want? So if the results that you want aren't intentional, if the results that you want haven't gotten to you yet, ask yourself, am I taking the necessary actions? Am I procrastinating? Am I anxious? Do I feel like a negative thing is going to happen? And then once you start fixing that and you make a decision, you become focused, you become intentional on the process, then the promise and of the action that you want to take will always reap the benefits in itself. So listen, continue to take the actions that you want to take. Continue to strive. Dream, yes. Have faith, yes. But until you actualize those faith in the physical and you take action and you don't care about it reaping the harvest immediately and you take the initial time it takes and you focus on the process, watch how the actions and the things you start manifesting in your life. Listen, I hope you like this video. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.